Hello, everybody, and welcome to another My Music's Graham Cave. It's Joel. In a minute, we're going to find out about L.A.B and maybe other letters in between as well. But first, this.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Joel, thank you for joining me.
No worries, man.
All the way from where exactly where are you in?
I'm in a place called the Bay of Plenty, which is on the east coast of the North Island of New Zealand, and it's a beautiful beach town, great surf. A lot of people come here for the big tourism kind of industry here, with all sorts of stuff on the coast. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Have you lived in New Zealand all your life? You born and bred New Zealand?
Yeah, born and bred here in Tauranga, which is the main city in the Bay of Plenty, and actually lived in Cornwall for a while back in the day.
Did you?
Yes,
just down the road from me.
Just down the road, mate. Yeah, so it's a place called Lou, which is on a little beach town. Yep. So he lived there for a couple of about 7 or 8 months. Actually, it was great. Playing at a buddy of mine had bought a restaurant, and he wanted to have a jazz quartet kind of thing playing in the background. So went over and got my visa and with all my buddies, and we went and lived upstairs and did the dishes out the back and played 4 nights a week. It was a good buzz.
Oh, I love that. What was it? A seafood restaurant?
No, it was just like he called it Zoot, so kind of a jazz thing, and he was doing like tapas, like Spanish tapas and pizzas and stuff. Yeah,
I love it. I love that. You go, so you travel halfway around the world from New Zealand to Cornwall to have Spanish food.
Yeah,
and play jazz.
I turned up on Queen's birthday weekend, and it was just absolute chaos. Like the amount of people that had come down for the weekend, it was crazy. Everyone's all dressed up with their flags, and yeah, it's good.
And now listen, for anybody that's never heard of L.A.B, just explain who you are a little bit. So, and for a start, let's start with the name L.A.B. I mean, I thought actually I should almost thought about wearing my lab coat today to do this, because I have actually got one. I've got like a doctor's coat.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
kind of adopted that name anyway. Like we call it the musical laboratory. But back in the day when the band first started, before I came along, it was the initials of the original members. And we just decided to keep it because it works. And basically Lawton, Andy, and Brad were the first 3 members in the band. Brad's still in the band. He's the one that produces the band and one of the main songwriters. And it was his older brother Lawton that they started the project together with a friend. And then kind of one thing led to another, and Brad went out on his own, kept the L.A.B name, and found myself out of Stu, his younger brother. One of the core brothers is also in the band, and Mihail Gregory, who came into the band in 2018. The band started I met Brad in 2015. So,
well, you know, it's got pedigree, hasn't it? Sort of a 3-letter band name that's like named after the members. I mean, you know, people like ELP, you know,
right?
Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
yeah,
ELO. ELO. There you go. There's another one. So yeah, I mean you can't really go wrong with that. What were the early influences of the band?
I would probably say electronic music right at the start. Before I came along, it was the idea of L.A.B was to be from Brad's leaving the band that he was playing with, band called Cora. He wanted to go down more of an electronic route, and then he met me, and we started writing more kind of soul, blues, reggae. There's always been a reggae influence in L.A.B, even before that. Like Brad, when he was playing with Cora, that band was incredibly experimental with styles and stuff like that, but they had an underlining tone of reggae music, roots music, and we've definitely adopted that in L.A.B. But I would say it's the early sound would be electronic, and then that kind of morphed into more roots reggae, soul R&B sound when we started hanging out, and
yeah. Has the flavour of the music changed over the years as you the flavour of what you put on your plate changes, or
Yeah, for sure. The early albums, you can definitely hear that electronic influence coming through, especially with the synths and the stuff like that. We definitely had that sound going on. But I think the band now, like, we've definitely gone more down that roots reggae, soul R&B is kind of our, bit of blues in there too, kind of sound. It's that seems to be where the band's kind of settled in regards to the songwriting too. The songwriting is more influenced with that 70s era of music.
Yeah. Well, listen, congratulations. New Zealand's top streaming artist of 2023. That's some achievement. Yeah. What is it, do you think, about New Zealand and your music that kind of gels?
I don't know. Like, I feel like in regards to roots reggae and stuff, there's definitely a massive scene in Aotearoa in New Zealand in regards to that sound. So the band, definitely lock into that kind of demographic in regards to our audience. But I don't know, man. I think people just feel the chemistry that the band has, and it's, like, when I saw the Foo Fighters the other day, totally different scene, totally different feel, but that kind of chemistry that band has is so contagious. You just can't not enjoy it.
It's the family vibe.
Yeah, it's just like exactly. It's a community, and I think L.A.B's created that over time in New Zealand, and it's been magic, man. Watching the crowd come on the ride with us, and grow and grow and grow, and we're just so grateful that we've got such hearty fans.
Yeah. Do you find yourself doing the same sort of thing? I mean, I know with like the Foo Fighters, it totally feels like that family thing. And one of the bands that I've been into over the years has been Marillion as well. And they've got their fan base have got that kind of whole, this is a family type thing. And it kind of seeps into the whole live performance. So with the Foo Fighters, with both of those bands, you get like people come along having learned everything that you play. And then occasionally, you get someone up to play. Do you do the same thing with you? Do you ever encourage anyone to get up and play?
No, we've never done that before, but there's been, I'm saying that we've had some people come up and special guests. There was a young fella I was teaching guitar for a while who was he's an absolute wizard. He's gonna do great things. But his festival debut was playing with us, headlining a big festival here called One Love, 20,000 people, and chucked him up in front of all those people and made him do a riff and guitar solo, and the whole crowd just lost their shit. Hey, it was just so we've done stuff like that. Yeah. They're just like, who's this kid? He just comes out and there's all the pyrotechnics going off and he's shredding in the background. So that was special. But yeah, in regards to the audience, Māori people, the indigenous people of New Zealand, when they sing, man, it's like something else. It's religious, it's a spiritual experience. And we've had moments where, I'll let the crowd take the song over and I just stand there and let them sing, and they start singing in harmony without even knowing it. You listen to it's like listening to a choir. And that's been, it's like, okay, yeah, this crowd's a part of the band,
Do you feel now, sort of being at the kind of the top of the pile of in New Zealand as well, do you feel some kind of responsibility, or is it just part of your nature as well to bring up new talent in New Zealand as well and sort of encourage?
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure, man. And to nurture that, I've always taught music on the side of L.A.B. I've been teaching for 15, 20 years, but in the last kind of 2 or 3 years, it's tapered off just with how busy the band's getting. But it's something that I'm super passionate about and really enjoying. Now that I've got this platform of L.A.B, it's allowing young talent to come through. Someone like Michael, who jumped up with us at One Love, and I get to go around the country and coach different things with the New Zealand Music Commission, and you just seeing the talent that's coming through and the accessibility that they've got to, like, the ever growing YouTube stuff, and the amount of education you can get from things compared to back in, not that I'm that old, but back in my day, it was like, you'd be slowing down recordings and you'd be buying CDs, and then this next generation, it's just gone whole next level, and you can really get into your craft at quite a young age. I got my first electric guitar at 12, and man, I've got kids that are coming in with electric guitars playing the pentatonic scales at 5, you know what I mean, and they're already ripping. So it's it's super inspiring.
Talking about inspiration, so the latest album is called L.A.B. VI, which obviously didn't take an awful lot of inspiration, but I mean, did it kind of, in terms of that as a name, it kind of reminds me of, do you remember Sky? All the Sky albums? Oh, right. The kind of classical supergroup Sky, which was a mixture of classical guitarists, rock guitarists that kind of blended together and made these kind of
that's cool,
quasi sort of classical prog type albums. And each album was like Sky 1, Sky 2, Sky 3, Sky 4. It was kind of a thing that it's very 70s feel to it. Was that intentionally kind of a 70s feel to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for us, we see it as like just, chapters of L.A.B, and I suppose I've never thought of it in that way, actually, in regards to the classical side of things, but like movements, like the classical movement of, Symphony No. 4 and blah, 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 so it's like, I feel like L.A.B's doing that, basically. Naming an album would feel weird now, it would just be like, what is it? There's something wrong with these guys, there's something wrong with us anyway, but, naming albums 1 to 6, but I just, I kind of see it as capturing the era of L.A.B. We always think about the time around, maybe around L.A.B 3, it was, lockdown and it was happening, and that's when the band, we kind of see it as an era of the band.
I was going to say, as made famous by Taylor Swift, eras, but you've kind of probably did it before her, you see, which is good. So she may have stolen that from you, which is a really good thing. Now, listen, you've won Best Group, Best Song, Best Album 2 years in a row at New Zealand Music Awards. Does that now fill you with inspiration, or does it partly fill you with terror as well, that you've got there? What comes after that?
I kind of ignore that stuff, to be honest, man, a bit. And I mean, I don't want to sound,
plan.
I don't want to be ungrateful or anything like that, because it's obviously that recognition is from the industry, and the fans or mainly the industry. It's obviously great to have that recognition, but if you let it get to your head, and then you let it, you sit there for too long and become too content. Like, oh, we made it, we're doing it. It's like, it's not a healthy place to be. So I tend to just take it for what it is, especially seeing a lot of bands or artists who have had a lot of success, and then they drop right off. It's like the plan is, it's like it's like going on a diet and just not sticking to it. I feel like the plan for an artist is it has to be a long game, and then for it to be a long game, you got to look at the successes just over there, but you're on this trajectory of like, we want to be touring the States and we want to be doing an album every couple of years. And so we kind of, it's just like going fishing and catching fish, it's just a bonus if we get an award. And yeah, that's kind of how I try and put it in its place.
So when you finish an album and it's all done and dusted and you start putting that out there, and then you go back to the studio, is there a conscious decision to make what comes next a reaction to what you've just done? Or
yeah, I guess, don't get me wrong, it was hard having the success and then the best song in the country and all this kind of stuff, and then going back into the studio and being like, okay, well, what do we do now? You definitely had that feeling, but it was all about, I think the last album in particular, once we took the pressure off the band and said, okay, hey, let's give ourselves 2 years to record this album and really sit in it and enjoy the process, not try and punch out another album. It's just like, let's get into that muse, and forget about the world and what's happening out there. Just get in that studio and write. And that's what we did. It worked. I feel like this next album is probably one of our best. It just feels strong, in regards to the songwriting and in regards to the sound that we're just always enhancing and adding to with textures and colors, with strings and horns and stuff like this. It feels like a strong body of work.
It strikes me that you'd probably say that about the next album as well, if I got you back in 2 years' time to talk about that, because that's a good thing, I like bands that are kind of like, well, this is the strongest album, and then 2 years later, this is the strongest album. I think that's good. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. What do you do when you approach the recording process or the writing process? What do you do to try and keep it as fresh as possible? Because once you've got a body of work like you've got there, you're 6 albums in, what do you do to try and bring it alive again? Do you play with new kit? Do you listen to different stuff in between?
I think we actually, outside of the band, we all have our things that we do that are nothing to do with music. And for me, it's getting out and walking the this local mountain that we have here, get out and exercise, do all these things, have like Brad does Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Our bass player, he's right into a thing called waka ama, which is basically ski racing in the ocean and stuff. He goes out like 20-30 kilometers out in the middle of the ocean.
Ski racing in the ocean. Wow.
Yeah, my words aren't working today.
It's like dragon racing on your own.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, waka ama is the Māori word for it. Basically, like a ginormous kayak, a long, skinny kayak. There you go. So we all have these things that we do like outside of the band, and that is essential for us to be a creative unit. As soon as we like get off the tour bus and we're back home, and then next week we'll go to the studio, man, it just doesn't work. You really have to give yourself the space to get right in the head, and then get in that studio and the magic happens. And it always seems to be when we've got that balance of family and stuff down, it's when the pressure's too much. Like I would say 2 years ago she was pretty hot. The pressure cooker was it was like touring and trying to finish an album. It was like, and you listen to album 5 and that's a great album, don't get me wrong, but it's not our strongest work. And I think that's that thing of like not quite nailing the balance from but it's also just the game, you know what I mean? Like you're just in it, so it's hard to, you can connect the dots once you're outside of it, but when you look back you go, shit, that was a hard year.
Yeah,
but I think it's
if you look back across all of your work, have you ever kind of written for anybody else? If you know what I mean by that, have you ever felt guilty of like,
100%.
actually,
Yeah.
that wasn't us writing for us. That was us writing because we had an expectation on us to write something, and we wrote that.
And the funny thing is when we have said, hey, let's try write a banger, or let's try write a blah, 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 it never works, man. You know, we did that on album 2, and we, you know, because album 1 took off and it would, you know, put the band on the scene, and it was that sophomore album was the band was like pushing the boundaries in regards to experience. Like some of the songs are epic, and but the band's clearly trying to find the sound. You know what I mean? You can really hear us pushing boundaries and going places.
So often happens on album 2.
Right.
Yeah, you can often hear it. I think it's quite common as well. You've got people within the industry kind of pushing you at that point. You're probably not in it. You haven't been in it long enough within that unit to know that you can turn around and say no.
Exactly.
You know, and it's really tricky. I bet you love some of those songs that you didn't like from that, but actually you wouldn't play them like that now.
No, I mean, we hardly play some of those songs. You know what I mean? I think the band from album 3 onwards really started to find that pocket of sound, and In the Air, which was the song that put the band on the map, was from album 3, and it's the most jammy kind of track. There's not even a chorus in it, you know what I mean? And it became a #1 hit, and we were just like, man, that's so fucking crazy. You write a song with you're trying to write these bangers and trying to, you know, get like on the radio and all this kind of stuff, and then you write a song like In the Air, which is like 3 verses and a bridge with a wicked bass line, and people love it, you know. So you start to go, okay, people, you know, and then that's what you're trying to write. You're trying to capture a feeling, you know, more than trying to write a banger. And I think that's where we started.
Did that then change your writing process at all?
100%. Well, it felt more like us, and every time we play In the Air, it's a song that is really fluid in the sense you can really jam it, you can mess with it, you know. It's got that jamminess to it as much as it's got the consistency. It's and that's the band.
Lucky. You're very lucky then, because there are only a number of bands in the world that can write from a jam these days, right? I think that's great. You know, well, I mean, that is as creative as process as there is, really.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And we really try our best to write together as much as we can. I don't write a song at home or a chordal idea on the guitar at home. I'm always in the studio with the boys, and I'll be jamming along, and Brad will hear me play something, and then it'll just be like, okay, let's work on that as an idea. And then he jumps on the kit. And to be honest, some of the best songs that we've written, that, you know, they've literally been written in half an hour. It's like the idea of it, you know, and then we sit down and write the lyrics after the fact. But it always starts with the jam in the room, the 5 of us, like fleshing out an idea. Oh, no, don't change yet. No, change now, you know. So it's like you're feeling it out instead of trying to like cookie cut it in Ableton or Logic or Pro Tools, where you're like, okay, well, you know, you get in the feeling of the song and then or the idea, and then that fleshes out into a song. I think it's always been the best way for us to write anyway.
And that's helped you grow as a unit as well then, because
100%.
You know, some bands have this thing where it's like, you know, you bring 2 songs, you bring 2 songs, you bring 2 songs, or whatever, and then it starts to feel like it's a little bit of a competition, or it's, you know, that you're thinking about who's the weakest link. You know, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. You may not have seen that program in the UK, but you know, but that the problem is, if you write like that, then that's part and parcel of that. But if you're writing in that way, which you're describing, which is, you know, you're throwing ideas up and collectively it's all coming together, then that really helps create that chemistry amongst you and keeps that family feel alive, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. You see, that's the way to write. right? If you're listening, and it's like, well, I come with this idea, and then they do that and whatever. It puts a lot of pressure. That as well puts a lot of pressure on certain people to deliver every time. Do you feel?
Yeah.
And it's like there feels like there's a lot of space in your lives, which is nice. The fact that you've got these things outside of the music that you can escape to, and then actually within the boiler room as well of the music, you've all got a reliance on each other. That's allowing an awful lot of space in there, which allows ideas to percolate nicely.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Cool. Fantastic. So what do we expect from you in 2024, the rest of 2024? Will we see you come to the UK? That's what obviously my listeners will want to know.
Yeah, we're planning on so we played in Europe for the first time in the UK last year. We played at the O2 Forum in Kentish town. And that was epic, man. It was the first time for the band over there, and a lot of Kiwis, a lot of expats, but also a lot of new fans that had never seen the band, and just for us to be in that part of the world playing music was just so special. So this year we're taking a break from the UK and the Europe. That run, we're focusing more on America at the moment. But we are 100% coming back in 2025. We're in talks with festivals and all sorts of stuff. We played in Amsterdam as well at the Paradiso, and that show was, one of the best shows I think we've ever played in our lives. It was just a moment that you'll never forget, playing that room that's had so much history in it. So many bands have played that stage, and when I think Keith Richards said it was one of Rolling Stone's best gigs. It was like an acoustic gig that they did in there. I don't know what year it was, but there's just history in there. Nirvana's played there, Foo Fighters, all sorts.
Yeah.
And so that was real special. But we just, we're at that stage in our kind of in the journey where we're wanting to get overseas more, and we're wanting to invest in that. And it's just a time thing for us. We don't want to rush it, and we want to do it right. So we'll be back in 2025 for sure.
Well, that's a sensible way to look at it, and also that just about gives you time, because I think you should be making your application now, but for one thing and one thing only in the UK. You know what that is?
Glastonbury.
Yeah. just down the road.
Just down the road. Yeah.
It's got to be, hasn't it, for you? Do you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's bucket list for sure. And I think
who would you like to follow onto the stage at Glastonbury, or have come after you? Who would you like either side of you at Glastonbury? Because that's the beautiful thing about Glastonbury, is it really is a complete melting pot. So you can go wild here with your suggestions. It doesn't have to be necessarily, I think this genre fits us or whatever. But who would you like to be sandwiched between at Glastonbury?
I don't know if you've heard of the Tedeschi Trucks band before, Derek Trucks. He's a blues guitarist. I'd love to play alongside them. And then Michael Kiwanuka. Have I said that right?
Michael Kiwanuka?
Yeah, unbelievable. And I think we would mix well with them, with both of those bands. And then a New Zealand band called Fat Freddy's Drop, who are already very big in Europe and the UK. They have a massive following, and we kind of look at them as an inspiration for what can be achieved in that part of the world as a Kiwi band. So, yeah, I think that would be the lineup. We'll play last. We don't mind, whatever.
Michael. I'm writing Michael's name down. Kiwanuka.
Yeah.
He's got to be there, hasn't he? And
he must be playing. He must be playing, yeah.
Well, he should be. He should have another album out by then. I mean, the last album of his was absolutely sublime, wasn't it? I mean, it's fantastic. Yeah, but he's due another album. That last one actually, I think, won the Mercury Prize as well. So he's he's right up there. What a great idea. There you go. So look, we look forward to seeing Joel and the rest of L.A.B at Glastonbury in 2025. Emily, if you're watching this from down the road,
Plant the seed.
Get them, but yeah, exactly. Get them booked on now. All right. And
Yes.
it will be a Sunday afternoon slot just between sorry, what was the guy's name again?
Yeah, Fat Freddy's Drop and then Michael Granaka.
There you go. And that's perfect. The sun's going down, the band are on,
Yes.
the beers are flowing.
Yes.
It's just perfect. Oh, there you
man.
go. Look, I've made your 2025 happen already.
There we go, man. We've got to put it out to the universe.
Yeah. Joel, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much. If people haven't already checked out L.A.B's music, which is mad, why would that not have happened? What we will be doing is we will be putting a track, and you can choose the track actually. What track would you like me to put onto the My Music podcast playlist so that people can get a feel for you?
Will you have the new album available by then? The whole new album?
Well, I can put it on as and when it happens. So
yeah, so it comes out on Friday. So if you want to put a new track on that isn't released yet, Give Me That Feeling is probably one of my favorites. Or Ocean Demon, which is
there you go.
Release, yeah.
I like the idea of Give Me That Feeling. Give me that feeling. Yes, we'll go with that. There we go.
We'll go with that. Perfect.
We'll go with that because it gives everybody the feeling. Oh, the dog's been set off in the background. But apologies for that. He's just so excited. No, he's just so excited that you're going to be playing Glastonbury in 2025.
Yes.
So there we go. Joel, thank you so much for coming along, talking to me today. Please, folks, check out the music of L.A.B. Do listen to them, but then remember, follow them as well. Actually subscribe to any channel that they're on, their YouTube, etc. as well. Do go and see them when they play. If you're in America watching this, they're going to be touring. So go and see them. Check them out. That's the way forward. Joel, thank you so much. And
no worries,
folks, thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this, it's been My Music. Please do share it with your friends, etc. Remember to do the whole subscribing type thing as well, because that really does help. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.
See you, man.